ideas are rarely materialized. Most people don't act on every little scheme that pops into their head, because if you do, every potential painting will not be put to canvas, most story concepts will never meet the surface of a page, and every stupid idea for a video game that you swear would be peak is more than likely never going to be made. It might, though. So there's this guy, right? We'll call him the king of all cosmos. He's a cosmic being, and he looks like a human? Right, so one night he's hot, too. And he's iced out. He's got that shit on. Right. So one night, he gets absolutely sloshed, piss drunk, and eviscerates all of the stars in the sky. Everything. Gone. And the people of Earth, well, the people are pissed. Can you believe that? Pissed. So it's up to you, the Pee-wee Prince, to restore all the stars in the sky. How, you ask? Well, this is where it gets good. See, you ever make a snowman? You know, you gotta start with a small ball and you keep rolling it up and it keeps getting exponentially bigger. So the game is that, but the snow is like, everything. So what do you think, fellas? We got a $1 million game on our hands or what here, you know? Come on. I was not early to the party. I had always known of Katamari, being that it's somewhat of a pop culture icon. But when this game had originally come out, I could barely formulate a coherent sentence, plus I was too busy playing Sly Cooper and Taiko Drum Master. But thankfully, we live in the age of remakes and remasters. I know that may have sounded a bit insincere, but I am being 100% genuine. A staggering amount of my favorite games from the past couple of years have been remakes or remasters, this being no exception. From the outside looking in, I had always assumed Katamari to be a bit of a wacky game full of hijinks and such, but I truly did not grasp to what extent. As mentioned earlier, the point of this game is to roll up a bunch of shit on Earth into balls so you could fill the sky up with stars. And the first problem with that would be that stars are typically a little bit bigger than this. If you can somehow muster up the courage to get past that glaring oversight, you can be thankful that each level is more polluted with stuff than a Guatemalan river. There is a bunch of stuff everywhere, too much stuff, some of the weirdest stuff in the weirdest places. And much like in real life, size matters here. No amount of motion of the ocean will drown out the sound of laughter when you whip out your puny little Katamari. My Katamari is big, but what really is a Katamari? A profound question that has occupied the thoughts of philosophers for eons. At a glance, a Katamari may look like this, or even this. A sticky ball that can be rolled to create an even bigger Katamari. The form has changed, but what's important is still the same, and what's truly important is still to be named. All the same, you do have to be bigger than the object you're collecting to pick it up. That is rule number 1. The most unsatisfying thing in this game is bouncing off of something and watching the pieces of my Katamari fly away. My momentum completely halted. It is like God himself was punishing me for my hubris. How naive that I should even dream of such exalted ambitions. Oh, my bad, God. Have I not paid my toll? Must I collect more mandarin oranges before I even think of picking up that pencil sharpener? Sorrow befalls the man who has deemed himself grander, not but a soul weighed down by stark delusions. There is a certain flow to this game in which you start out having to maintain an air of caution, carefully maneuvering around, trying to pick up the biggest items that can actually fit into your frail little Katamari. If the items are just right, you'll end up expediting your growth, and if the items are a little too big, this all culminates with you reaching a sort of critical mass where you become a Kirby-level threat, sucking everything up in your path. And before you even realize it, your Katamari will become an affront to the heavens. For it matters not what may be encountered on this quest, my path will be paved with the blood of mankind, and the cacophony of screams shall be my soundtrack. No, God was not disciplining me for my excess pride, rather, he was protecting himself. Scared of what my Katamari might become, that he might recoil from my size, weep at my girth, and maybe, soon enough, my Katamari will be just big enough to pluck him from his little peaceful pearly white paradise. What then, God? What then? This game is split up into levels, most of which will have you just trying to get as big as you can in a certain amount of time. There is a set score, which is the base size needed to clear the level, and 2 secret super clear scores, which turn the game from a fun little collectathon to a Super Mario 64 All-Stars speedrun. What do you get for your trouble? Nothing. But the king's approval. It changes a single line of dialogue and is somehow not the most painful thing you could do for something essentially worthless. Anyways, it's not only just about getting big around here though, because occasionally the king will mix it up and give you a separate task to spice up the gameplay. Oh, the sky doesn't look yummy enough. Go collect as many crabs as you can. Oh, the sky is utterly lacking in grace. Go collect as many swans as you can. Okay. Now go collect women. Okay, little side note here, and I know it's a bit weird to take such a silly game seriously, but in the last level of the game, the biggest Katamari you end up making happens to be the moon, which along with the stars was destroyed, and it doesn't really make sense because I know observably from like an Earth dweller's perspective, yes, the moon does seem larger than the stars, but as we learned in science class, stars are actually much bigger than the moon. But what if they weren't? If you would direct your attention to diagram number 1, and at this point, if you haven't played this game before, you might be thinking, well, for such a cult classic game, there isn't a lot here, right? There's got to be more to this. Well, you're right, because I haven't actually mentioned what might be one of the greatest soundtracks to ever bless the sound chip of a PS2. A mix of jazz, bossa nova, J-pop, electronic, and I don't even know what, performed by an ensemble of all Japanese stars and singers. It is beautiful, vibrant, bittersweet, nostalgic. It is fuel to the Katamari of my Damacy. Because when that comes on, I just want to... But when that comes on, I want to... I know you love me. And when that comes on, you know I gotta... Also, there is the incredibly strange B-plot, which is pretty much just a kid losing his fucking mind because his mom doesn't believe the stars are gone. Which is pretty much how I feel when people... If you would direct your attention to diagram number 2. Overall, though, what you see is what you get. There is a beauty in the simplicity, however, it is indeed simple. Which leads to the question that had plagued me from the very beginning to the very end of Katamari Damacy. Who allowed this game to be made? Keita Takahashi, Mr. Katamari himself, the man behind the ball. Graduated from art school and on a whim applied to a little company called Namco, the world-renowned video game developer / publisher that at this point was responsible for titles such as Family Mahjong for the NES, and Family Jockey for the NES, and Keita had somehow gotten the job, but he was not a video game developer. He was an artist. He had never made a video game in his entire life, and at the time of his hiring, his greatest creation was this. Young Keita wasn't much of a gamer either, but seeing as he now had the chance to work for a company like Namco, he started plotting. And one faithful day on his way to catch the train home from work, a spinning object had caught his eye. And on that very same train home, so unceremoniously that I would struggle to call it divine intervention, came a thought so brilliant that it couldn't be anything but. Yes, Keita had thought of that very same spinning object picking up other objects and getting bigger. That was the moment the flower of Katamari had bloomed in his mind. After a long, tumultuous night of rumination, Keita ventured out to tell his friend about this ingenious idea. Now, his friend was actually a video game developer, and his response to Keita's idea was, "That's some real shit right there, brother." Getting the seal of approval from his friend, he now had to face the real challenge of getting the approval of the higher-ups at Namco. And what did he say to get them to believe in his vision? What mind-blowing pitch did he use to convince them that they should allow him to make this game? Well, unlike my little pitch at the beginning of this video, he had no pictures. He mentioned nothing about the story. In essence, he walked into his boss's office, sat down, and talked about his game in an interaction that can be essentially summed up like, alright, so what if you can just roll everything into a ball? Holy shit. But it doesn't end there, because his boss actually had to take this to an even bigger boss in an interaction that could be essentially summed up like, okay, so what if you could just roll everything into a ball? Holy shit. Do you understand how crazy this sounds? I mean, sure, it didn't go that smoothly. There was complications to be had here and there, and they had to make a prototype before the game got put into actual full development, but still, this is a AAA game. Can you imagine if a newbie developer who had never made a video game in his entire life proposed this to a big game company now? If young Kata had suggested this game to a 2024 Ubisoft, they would have shot him in the chest. But some way, somehow, this became a game, evidently a successful one. So successful that Namco snapped out of their drunken stupor and realized they like money. Make another one, they say. I don't want to, says Kata. The ball is already in motion, kid. This game will be made with or without you, they retort. Just when I thought I was out, they roll me back in. Come on, everybody! We Love Katamari, which is apparent, seeing that the popular opinion online seems to be that this unwanted sequel is somehow better than the first game. A story that begins by calling Katamari Damacy out on being lazy. You idiot, we only put up stars around Earth. There is still work to be done. 400 billion stars reside in the Milky Way alone, and we've created about 18. More importantly though, Katamari has fans now. How meta. Fans all over the earth of every color, creed, and religion. We must listen to them, and we must fulfill their requests, because the king is very insecure. Mainly due to the sort of cold, old-fashioned, tough love style of parenting his father had subjected him to in his youth, which has left him with a sort of mental trauma that he has carried with him to adulthood and will undoubtedly carry with him for the rest of his life. But none of that shit really matters, because there are Katamaris that must be rolled, and what could the meaning of life be if not rolling up Katamaris? New mechanics? No. Why would we need those? The hollowed horseshoe crab has passed millennia not evolutionarily budging an inch. Why then should the faultless form of Katamari rolling change to time? New items? Why yes, of course, my Katamari was getting a bit fatigued from the marvelous mundanity of mere monotonous rolling. Not only do objects look better, but they are more better. New soundtrack? Yeah, nothing beats the beautiful beats and ballads of Katamari, and rolling up a Katamari without an anthem would be an awfully arduous adventure. New characters? Certainly, you can collect your cheerful cousins who will form a cohort of consummate Katamari conveyors, Ew. What the hell is that thing? Well, you can play as these other characters, but why would you? I mean, you would never catch me switching up on the prince like that. I mean, just look at him. He's such a cutie patootie. Look at him. There he goes. Look at him. He's running out. You're going pretty fast there, buddy. Wait, hold up. Slow down. No. New missions? Yeah, no shit. This is a new game, dude. Of course there's new missions. New missions. What are you, stupid? Are you stupid? Of course we have the same old tried and true get as big as you can fast, but now there is also get big as fast as you can. These are different things. And there are also a bunch of random one-off levels which make use of this core gameplay loop in different fun ways. For example, Katamari Under the Sea, Katamari P. Diddy, Katamari In the Clouds, Katamari... Yeah, don't let Pyrocynical see this one. And many, many more. More being the key word here, because what we've done is essentially power creeped Katamari Damacy. We aren't just rolling up islands anymore, we're rolling up countries. China, India, goddamn England. This is big Katamari Damacy, deluxe Katamari Damacy, extra Katamari Damacy. We are rolling up the fucking sun, baby! And just to show you how big we're getting here, at the very end of it all, speeches heard, Katamari's rolled, credits watched, exists a talking rose that asks you to collect 1 million roses, which maybe doesn't sound like a huge task, you know, we did just roll up the sun, but according to my extensive research, it would take anywhere from 40 to 140 hours to do this. And what do you get for doing it? Well, now there are roses everywhere. Do you remember what I was saying earlier? This is something I definitely did, by the way. All of this footage is mine. But it is the stupid shit like this, the whimsical nature of this game, that is part of the reason that I love Katamari. But it is also part of the same reason that I love Katamari more than I love We Love Katamari. While being a phenomenal, fun game in its own right, it is almost ironic that it was made not just because Kata didn't want to make it originally, but because, to me, Katamari Damacy embodies exactly what this game needs to be. Now, I don't like to be one of those guys that reads super deep into things. Like, sure, Thomas the Tank Engine is about British imperialism, and Crash Bandicoot is really a social commentary about excessive methamphetamine usage. Nobody really cares. So Lord forgive me for what I'm about to do here. This game is critiquing consumerism. I know, it's cringe, this is not me, this is not who I am. There is so much clutter in our lives, isn't it funny that a game where the win condition is to collect as much shit as you can is really about moderation. A game that is littered with so many things that in just a couple rolls of the Katamari you'll probably forget what you'd picked up previously, where the more you collect, the more depressing the world becomes. Not by virtue of color palette or song choice or some helpful NPC that will tell you how much of a sick bastard you are, but rather by sheer absence of life. I think it is inherent in us to want more. When we have more, we feel good, so we want more of what makes us feel good. I want a new toaster, I want a new TV, my girlfriend wants new tits, my dog wants new tits, I want a new Katamari game, I want 16 new Katamari games. What the fuck are we doing here, Namco? I only mention all of this because it ties into the reason that I much preferred the first game. More isn't always better. If variety is the spice of life, then you can call me a 16th century English nobleman, because I only want salt on this Katamari. What is gained from all of these new levels and bits and bobs and doodads to me ends up being lost in the overall cohesion of the experience. If I could describe We Love Katamari in just one word, it would be extra. Extra levels, extra characters, extra items, a word that seeps into every aspect of its being, even down to the story, if you would feel so inclined to call it a story. Because it felt less like something that is actually driving you to make these Katamari, and more like Kata saying, well, we have to be here anyways, so fuck it, we ball. An excuse for there to be more game, really, courtesy of the Namco shareholders. Which is fine. I like the game. But my point wasn't that I disliked the game. My point was that less is more, the first one is better, the prince is the coolest guy ever invented, and Ubisoft needs to stop making games. In Katamari Damacy, you are a cosmic dung beetle rolling shit up into the biggest ball you can. It is fun and cathartic, and I love it. There are 3 maps: house, town, world, and it makes full use of each one of them. A lot of games, especially nowadays, like to do this thing. It's called, wasting your fucking time. Not this game. You are in and out. Every level feels like a meaningful addition to the game, and by the end of it, I was left wanting for nothing. There is no wasted space here. It is a ball comprised of gameplay, humor, wackiness, art style, music, and manages to say something without really having to say anything at all. It is truly the Katamari of Katamari games. But what is a Katamari truly? Is it a sticky ball that picks up objects? Nay, I say. A Katamari is a dream. The dream that we can come together on this giant Katamari Damacy we call an Earth and better ourselves, thrive as a species, be more mindful of the people and things around us, and hopefully make the stars shine over us once more. Oh, that was corny, wasn't it, man? That was... I know I went way too positive. I always do this shit. I always screw things up, man. Fuck. Okay, how do we fix this? Oh. Wait a second. Okay. Wait, hold on. How about this? All right. A Katamari is really the fact that you are both ugly and you stink. Ruminate on that one for a little bit.
I'm so in love with you. I wanna wad you up into my life. Let's roll up to be